Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and before we get started on tonight's story, I'm going to let you know about the crowdfunding project of Dread, Decay, and Doom. It's a book, an anthology, a horror anthology, that is currently being crowdfunded in the link in the description down below, or the one you see on your screen right now. If you like tonight's story written by Vincent Vinicava, and you want to see more stories from amazing authors like this, please consider supporting these books. You can get a digital copy, or you can get physical copies through the link down below. And this is a great way to be able to support upcoming unpublished authors and authors of amazing horror fiction. So, without further ado, on to tonight's story. Samantha was awakened by a kiss. It hadn't come from a charming prince. There had been no firm but gentle lips, no musky sandalwood scent drifting through the air. There had been no rough, masculine stubble tickling her cheek, no dashing smile, no blue-eyed stare, no true love's first embrace. There hadn't even been a damn horse. No, this kiss had come in with a thundering crack. Its lips were made of rocks and dirt. They sent shockwaves rippling through her skull, raked down her face, and pushed pebbles inside of her nose and mouth. But she was awake, and that meant she was alive. This was the first of 3 thoughts that had burst into her mind the moment after her head slammed against the ground. The second was that she regretted skipping lunch earlier that day because it was well past midnight and she hadn't even eaten anything since the granola bar she had for breakfast. That thought, however, was pushed rather quickly to the side once the third one bullied its way to the forefront of her consciousness. This third thought was, the East Mountain Killbilly just slaughtered my friends, and now he's dragging me into the woods. It wasn't quite that coherent. There were a lot of fucks and shits, and even a couple fucking shits sprinkled in there, but that was basically the gist of it. Her body was cold, but a wound just below her ribcage burned as if it was on fire. The last thing she recalled was looking into the Killbilly's wild yellow eyes as he ran the steel blade of his machete through her torso. She must have passed out from blood loss. The fact that she was still breathing meant the machete would have had to have missed every major organ inside her tiny 110-pound frame. She considered trying to kick herself free. And then she remembered the person she'd be kicking was a near 7-foot-tall behemoth of a man who was wearing a mask of human flesh fashioned from the face of somebody who was probably a lot tougher than she was. Her mind raced as she was reminded of the horrors she'd witnessed him perform at the cabin that night. His strength was immense. It had taken him no effort to completely overpower Devin and Trevor, and they played on the college football team. Fighting back was pointless. Bella had lunged heroically at him with a marshmallow skewer, but that hadn't worked out well for her. The Killbilly snapped her friend's wrist like a twig, snatched the skewer from her grip, and then buried it deep inside her eye socket without even breaking a sweat. It still had the marshmallow on it at the time. It was golden brown, too. Perfectly toasted. Damn, she was hungry. Her best bet was to play dead. Every second the Killbilly thought she was a corpse was another second he wouldn't spend actually making her one. He pulled her across the forest floor for what felt like an eternity before coming to a stop at the side of the road. It was here that he dropped her leg. The Killbilly took a few long strides away from her, then sat down on his haunches and began to rummage through a duffel bag that he was carrying with him. She considered scrambling to her feet now that his attention was diverted, but something deep inside her was holding her back. She couldn't stand. She couldn't run. Not because her legs didn't work, but because she was terrified about what it would mean if she did. Running would alert the Killbilly, and the last thing she wanted was that unhinged lunatic chasing after her again. She wished some hero could come along and rescue her. A cop or a vigilante in a bright spandex costume would do the trick. Even a cyclist who kept a gun in his bright spandex bike shorts. She was young. She was pretty. She was white. She wasn't supposed to be dealing with things like this on her own. It was someone else's job to save the day, yet deep in her gut, She knew she was alone. So she waited and listened as the Killbilly packed his duffel bag. She wondered what was in there, but didn't dare open her eyes for fear that he would catch a glimpse of her watching him. Once he finished, she heard the jangle of keys, then a click. It was followed by a soft ding, and that's when the trunk of his car opened. She wasn't expecting him to drive, let alone own an automobile. If the campfire stories were to be believed, the East Mountain Killbilly was an undead maniac who rose from the grave every 13 years to butcher whatever unlucky co-eds happened to cross his path. She didn't understand how a Toyota Camry fit into that equation. The giant hoisted her off the ground. She let herself go slack, doing her best corpse impression, but the dead weight made little difference to him. He dumped her in the trunk with all the care one might afford to a deflated tire, then loomed over her. Though her eyes were shut, she could feel his stare violating her. She was running out of time. Once that lid closed, she'd be locked inside, but she would need to face the monster who had massacred her friends if she wanted to get away. The very idea made her limbs feel like they were made of stone. The trunk slammed shut. Darkness swaddled her. And so too did a terrible sense of shame. She'd been too afraid to save herself, and now she couldn't. The only silver lining was that here, in the trunk, she was finally free of the Killbilly's eyes. But this perk was only temporary. Sooner or later, his stare would return, and once it did, her nightmare would begin all over again. The car started, and a few seconds later, it was rumbling down the road. She decided to use her newfound privacy as an opportunity to snoop around. The inside of the truck was pitch black, but she could gather clues with her hands. Samantha patted around the small, compact space until her fingers brushed up against something. After some careful examination, she was sure it was a duffel bag. Must have loaded it in the trunk with her. There were 3 small pockets along the side of it, so she extended her investigation to them first. With any luck, she'd find something useful. The stabbier, the better. But even a bag of trail mix would be a godsend. The first pocket was empty, but in the second, she found a Zippo lighter. She flicked it on, illuminating the trunk in a dim orange glow. At least she could see again, and now her eyes confirmed what she'd suspected all along. It was just her and the bag in the trunk. If it didn't contain anything that could help her, she was back to square one. The third pocket was a disappointment. The only thing it yielded was a fast food coupon, which, considering her grumbling stomach, felt like a slap in the face. That left the main compartment. She hoped she'd saved the best for last. It had the most space, so it made sense that's where she'd find the Killbilly's spare murder weapon. A machete of her own wouldn't exactly even the playing field with someone his size, but at least it wouldn't make her feel so helpless. Samantha unzipped the bag and pulled open the flap. She gaped into it. Eyes wide, mind in disbelief as the horrible sight began to come into focus for her. A scream nearly burst from her mouth. She managed to swallow it back down and felt her head start to spin. She was staring at a simmering stew of body parts, hands and ears and toes that the Killbilly had collected from her friends and kept as souvenirs. There were pieces of everyone who had been with her in the bag, and sitting on top of it all, gazing back at her through 2 empty black voids, was the same human face that the Killbilly had been wearing as a mask. Samantha pushed the bag aside. So this was what her future would hold. As soon as the car got where it was going, she'd no doubt be diced up and added to the psychopath's collection. She started to cry. If only she'd run away earlier while the Killbilly was distracted. If only she hadn't been such a pussy. Her eyes darted around the inside of the trunk. She could have sworn she heard a voice. "You're kind of a pussy, you know that?" "Who said that?" Samantha hissed. She kept her voice to a whisper. but there was a shrillness in it that she couldn't hold back. The bag, dummy. There was no way that she could have heard that correctly. She was all alone in this trunk. She was sure of it. Carefully, she crawled forward and peered back into the bag. Nothing had changed since her last glance. Every hacked-up limb was still where it was before. The face still sat in its original position, splayed out like a pale jellyfish that had washed up atop a pile of human garbage. "Hey, Samantha," it said. "Fancy meeting you here." Panic swept over her. Her breath quickened. Her heart drummed so hard against her chest she thought it might break her sternum. The face's features remained static. Its lips didn't move, and yet she knew it was the source of the voice. Even stranger, she thought she recognized it. She leaned closer into the bag and studied the face for the first time that night. Then gasped. She knew who it belonged to. "Barry?" she squeaked. "Good to see you still recognize me," said the face. "I know I'm not looking my best." In all the chaos, she'd completely forgotten about Trevor's roommate. Barry had come up to the cabin with them this weekend. Samantha hadn't spoken much to him because he'd seemed like kind of a dick. But at least he brought weed and booze. Barry wandered off earlier that evening when the group was sitting around the campfire, and she hadn't heard of him since. A couple hours after that was when the Killbilly began his rampage. "I think I'm going crazy," Samantha mumbled. "I think you're right," replied Barry's face. The car took a sharp turn and she was thrown suddenly to her side. For a second she had forgotten about where she was. She remembered now, and there was an odd comfort in knowing that she was trapped in a psychopath's trunk. It grounded her in a way, being held hostage by a serial killer that was real. Having a conversation with a dead guy's face was not. Then, Barry's voice resumed, and her world flipped upside down again. "Since we have some time to kill, I figured you and me could have a little chat." "This isn't happening," uttered Samantha. She hugged herself and started rocking. "Hey, knock off the am I going crazy stuff. The answer is yes. You've lost your goddamn mind. Now can we move past it?" Samantha wiped some snot from her nose. "I'm sorry," she sniffled. She tried to project more confidence, but her voice cracked when she asked the next question. "What happened to you?" "I walked in the woods to smoke a joint when Devin started playing Wonderwall on his guitar. I'm sorry, I know he's your boyfriend, was your boyfriend, but he's got a voice like a feral cat in heat." Memories of Devin flooded her mind. She couldn't believe she'd never see him again. "Well, he's dead now," she said. "Look, I don't know if you're coming on to me," said Barry's face, "but if you are, I think I saw my dick in the bag earlier. Check under Bella's foot." "Excuse me?" "Don't worry about it. Anyway, I ran into the Killbilly when I was token up, and guess you didn't hear my screams over Devin's crappy singing. After I died, the freak made a mask out of my face. Weird, right?" Weird was the appropriate word. Being nearly murdered by a psychopath who collects human body parts was weird. Talking to the severed face of her friend's dead roommate was cuckoo bananas. Samantha took a deep breath, then leaned over the bag. "Why'd you call me a pussy earlier?" she asked. Barry's mouth did not turn up into a smile, but a giggle trickled from his lips nonetheless. "I mean, you could have gotten away. Killbilly thought you were dead, but you just laid there. I was scared. And you're still scared, but now you're in a serial killer's trunk. How'd that work out for you?" Once again, she was ashamed. It was bad enough when she was the only person who knew she was a coward, but being called out by this asshole added a new level to her self-loathing. The car slowed to a stop. That meant the joyride was coming to an end. She wasn't ready to see the Killbilly again. Samantha began to hyperventilate. "Relax," said Barry's face. "You hear that?" There was a new voice. This one was tinny and muffled. It echoed from outside the car. "Welcome to Poppy's. Would you like to add a peanut butter poppy pie to your order for $1? Was someone else there? She wasn't sure what was real and what wasn't anymore. Almost on cue, Barry's face answered the question. "You're not hallucinating that one, Samantha. I think we're at a fast food drive-thru." No thank you, I'm trying to watch my weight, laughed another voice. This one was more clear. She could tell it was coming from inside the car. I'll have a double daddy beefy patty with cheese, hold the pickles. It was him. The Killbilly. It had to be. The entire time he'd been hunting her and her friends, she'd only heard him let out a few inhuman moans. For all she knew, the guy had a vocabulary of a tree stump, and now he was ordering a cheeseburger in perfect English. His voice was deep, but he spoke with a casual smoothness. So that's one double daddy beefy patty, no pickles? Asked the person over the intercom. With cheese, added the Killbilly. There was a sigh, a brief pause, and then, all right, pull up to the next window. She could smell the food now. Its savory scent penetrated the trunk and twisted her gut into knots. She could almost taste its greasy goodness. Damn, that smells delicious, said Barry's face. I might still be a little high because I think I have the munchies. You are not helping, Samantha said. If you're hungry, there's plenty of protein in the bag here with me. I'm not a cannibal. Give it time. Barry's face laughed. Why are you bothering me? Asked Samantha. Believe it or not, I want to help you. Samantha contemplated this. She'd been wishing someone would come help her. She'd just hoped that it would be someone with arms and legs. Maybe a torso. You're just a face, she said. What can you do? Okay, I'm going to blame that insensitive comment on the trauma you've sustained this evening, puffed Barry's face. The truth is, I can't do much physically, but maybe I can convince you to do something. Like fight. Samantha scoffed. Fight? Did you see what happened to everyone else that tried that? The car drove up to the window, but she could hear the Killbilly talking again. Oh, I have a coupon in my trunk, he said. You have to pull into a parking space, replied the cashier. We can't permit you to exit your vehicle in the drive-thru. Really? Whined the Killbilly. That's a silly rule. I'm the only one here. I'll be real quick. Sir, it's a safety precaution, snapped the cashier. There was a tone in the woman's voice that she wasn't taking anyone's shit tonight. I'm going to have to ask you to please pull into a parking spot if you would like to exit your vehicle. The two sat in silence for a moment, and Samantha could feel the tension in the air. The next thing she was expecting to hear was the cashier begging for her life, but to her surprise, it was the Killbilly's voice that broke through the quiet. I'll be right back, he said. The car pulled out of the drive-thru and began to circle the parking lot. Okay, said Barry's face. This looks like your chance. My chance at what? Asked Samantha. Having my tits chopped off and tossed in that duffel bag? Barry's face ignored her quip. Killbilly still thinks you're dead, and he's about to open the trunk. When he does that, punch him in his big ugly face. Start running. You won't know what hit him. Punch him? What would that do? Said Samantha. He makes Andre the Giant look like Danny DeVito. She closed her eyes when the car stopped. It went back to playing a corpse. The Killbilly was mumbling to himself. Don't kill him, they're only doing their job. She heard the door open, followed by his heavy, plodding footsteps as he made his way towards the back of the car. Here he comes, said Barry's face. You know what to do. The trunk opened. Her eyes stayed shut, but she knew the Killbilly was standing over her. He placed something beside her body. Discreetly, she reached out with her fingers to feel what it was. Didn't take long before she realized she was in arm's reach of the machete. The Killbilly was too busy fishing through his bag to notice. What pocket did I put that coupon in? He grumbled. Now would be her chance. All she had to do was grab the thing and swing it at the Killbilly while his attention was elsewhere. Even if she didn't put him down, the surprise would be enough to get enough space between them to slip away. But what if she missed? What if he grabbed it from her, just like when Bella came at him with the marshmallow skewer? What if her stupid ass dropped the thing? The element of surprise was all she had going for her, and if she screwed up, it would be gone for good. Aha! Cried the Killbilly. He retrieved the coupon and was holding it over his head triumphantly. After dancing a quick celebratory jig, he stuffed it in his pockets, then leaned over her and snatched the machete from the trunk. The lid shut. Samantha flicked the lighter back on and washed away the shadows. What the hell? cried Barry's face. "The machete was right there! Why didn't you do something?" "I was afraid," she sobbed. "And you wondered why I called you a pussy earlier." The car made its way back to the window again, and the Killbilly presented the cashier with his coupon. "This is expired, sir," said the woman at the cash register. "What?" gasped the Killbilly. "Let me see that. Oh, for crying out loud, the 13th was like an hour ago. Can't you give me the discount anyway?" The cashier was clearly over this whole exchange. "The system won't let me put in an expired coupon." Killbilly replied with a frustrated grunt, then handed over his money. A few seconds passed, and the woman returned to the window with his food. "Excuse me," said the Killbilly. "This order isn't correct. I asked for a double daddy beefy patty with cheese. There's no cheese on this." Samantha could practically hear the cashier roll her eyes before responding. "Please pull into the parking spot while we correct your order. We'll bring it out to your car." "Can't you just bring it to me here?" asked the Killbilly. "It's 1 a.m. There's no one else in the drive-thru." A horn blared. Samantha's ears started ringing. It had come from a car that had crept up behind them. Its front bumper was just inches away from the trunk. "Hey, move it, asshole!" shouted the driver. "Get your thumb out of your ass! Pull forward!" "Sir," said the cashier to the Killbilly. She was now speaking with the same sternness a mother might use when scolding a child. "I'm not going to tell you again. Please pull into a parking space. We'll bring you out your order." The car started up and circled the lot again, then parked in a spot. Don't kill him, the Killbilly muttered to himself. "It's a late shift, they're probably understaffed, don't kill him." "For a homicidal maniac, this guy has a surprising amount of restraint," said Barry's face. "I don't think he'll show me the same courtesy," replied Samantha. "That's why you gotta get off your ass and do something." She didn't respond. Do something? That was easy for him to say. He was already dead. There was a knock on the window and the Killbilly let out a surprised yelp. "That was fast," he said. "Oh, hey, can I help you?" "Hey, you got any money?" said a homeless man who had approached the car. "No, sorry," said the Killbilly. "I don't carry cash." "Say, this is a nice whip," the homeless man purred. "She's got a sexy body." "Linus, get the hell out of here." It was the cashier again. Her voice grew as she rushed across the parking lot. "I swear I wasn't trying to fuck the car this time," the homeless man cried. Samantha heard the patter of his feet as he ran off. When the cashier reached the car, she handed the Killbilly's order through the window. "Yell out now," said Barry's face. "Scream bloody murder before that employee walks away." She couldn't scream. All she could do was think of what would happen if the Killbilly heard her. Nightmare scenarios played through her head like a movie on an old projector. Images of him peeling out of the lot, dragging her from the car, hacking her to bits, poured through her consciousness. "Excuse me," said the Killbilly. "The order's wrong again." The employee sighed. "You said double daddy beefy patty with cheese. That's what you got." The Killbilly was irritated now. "I said double daddy beefy patty with cheese. Hold the pickles." You really drew out the last part to emphasize it. "This has pickles on it. Check the receipt." "Can't you just take them off?" asked the cashier. "No, I can't just take them off," groaned the Killbilly. "I hate pickles. Their flavor dominates the burger. Even if I remove them now, their juice has already seeped into the bun and it'll be all I can taste. Please, can you just make me what I ordered?" He handed her back the bag. Samantha sure didn't mind pickles. Hell, what she wouldn't do to savor just one sliced sweet pickle on her tongue right now. Her stomach growled so loud she was surprised the Killbilly couldn't hear her from the driver's seat. "Considering cannibalism yet?" asked Barry's face. "I'm not eating my friends," she hissed. "So you do stand for something," said Barry's face. "What are you trying to get at?" "I'm saying maybe you're not as big of a pushover as you think. You'll stand up for your dead friends. Why won't you stand up for yourself?" "It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I'm scared." "Scared of what?" Samantha wiped tears from her eyes. "That I'll fuck up." "Seems to me you're more afraid of failing than you are dying." She tilted her head. "I get it," continued Barry's face. "The world's a dark, scary place. Just like this trunk. It's easy to sit back, wish that someone else would come along and solve your problems for you, but that isn't always the case. Sometimes you need to fight for yourself, because no one else will, and who cares if you fuck up? It's still better than not trying at all. She thought about what he said. It made more sense than anything else that had been going through her head that night. Something sparked inside her, a small flame no bigger than the one coming out of the top of her Zippo lighter, but the more she considered Barry's words, the bigger that fire grew. The cashier had returned to the car. "Sorry about that," she said as she handed the Killbilly his food. "Thank you for choosing Poppies. Have a dippy-doo-dad day." She walked off. The Killbilly mumbled something incoherent to himself as he unwrapped his burger. The car went silent for a moment, then Samantha heard him shout, "Gross!" The car door opened and out stomped the Killbilly. "I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill them all," he snarled. "He's coming back to the trunk," said Barry's face. "What are you gonna do?" She didn't reply, but she knew the answer. The fire was spreading rapidly. Its flame consumed her, and now she burned with a desire to face her monster. She wasn't afraid of failure anymore. As far as she was concerned, the next time that trunk closed, she'd either be alive and outside of it, or dead for real. There would be no more feeling sorry for herself, no more hoping to be rescued. She was going to fight, and if she went down, then hell, at least she'd go down swinging. Samantha closed her eyes and laid back down just as the Killbilly popped the trunk. "Where's my mask?" he said to himself. She opened one eye and snuck a peek. He was holding on to the machete this time. Of course he was. Handing it to her would have been too easy. That didn't matter, though. Not anymore. She took a quick breath to steady herself, let out a primal scream, then sprang up and swiped at the blade. The Killbilly squealed and tried to twist away, but stumbled, and that was all she needed. It gave her the chance to yank the weapon from his grip. She spun its handle in her hand, then lunged forward with both arms, leading with the blade. Her eyes must have been closed when it struck him, because when she opened them again, she was face to face with a Killbilly for the first time since the cabin. The only difference was, now his eyes were full of fear. It was strange seeing his real face. I was sure he was still big, but now he just looked like a guy. She wondered why she had ever been so frightened of him. The machete was buried halfway into his throat. He gasped and gurgled as blood seeped from the corner of his mouth. With one hand he grabbed the blade, trying to prevent it from digging any deeper into his neck. With the other, he was still holding the bag containing his order. Samantha stood up to get more leverage. She wasn't going to be denied. With all the force she could muster, she shoved the machete forward, pushing the blade out the other side of the Killbilly's neck. Blood began to gush from his throat, running down his chest. His massive body toppled backwards, and when his head hit the pavement, it rolled away from the rest of his neck. She stood over the man she'd just decapitated, sweat dripping from her brow, the cold air licking at her skin. "I couldn't have done this without you, Barry," she said. Barry's face laughed. "Didn't we go over this before? I'm not real. You're nuts. You did this all on your own, Samantha." A mix of emotions swirled inside her. Sorrow, anger, pride, rage, relief, and perhaps most of all, an intense gnawing hunger. She bent down and tore the bag from the Killbilly's fingers, then unwrapped the burger. A double daddy beefy patty was precisely what the doctor ordered, pickled or no pickles. She didn't care, as long as she could sample its heavenly flavor. Its aroma was otherworldly. Smelling it this close sent shivers through her body. She couldn't stand it anymore. She needed a bite. Samantha opened her jaw and sunk her teeth into the juicy burger. The sweet meat nearly melted in her mouth and made her taste buds dance with euphoria. It was ecstasy. It was bliss. It was as if the burger's processed ingredients were having an orgy inside her mouth. Then she caught a different flavor. Something that wasn't right, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. It wasn't Poppy's secret sauce, no. It was saltier and slimier than that. She lifted the bun, gawked stupidly at the patty, then felt the beef she had just swallowed rise up in her throat. "Are you kidding me?" she screamed. The door chimed. "Welcome to Poppy's," said the cashier at the register. "Would you like to add a peanut butter poppy pie to your order for a dog?" A head thumped down on the counter. The cashier gaped at it. She realized immediately it belonged to the man whose food she just brought out. "I think you got my order wrong," Samantha said. "I asked for a double daddy beefy patty with cheese, no pickles." She pulled Barry's face out of the duffel bag, fastened it on top of her own, then raised the machete over her head. As she jumped across the counter, she could hear his voice cry out again. "And this time, hold the fucking loogie!" Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video or for listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. And as always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who supports me over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys have been there when I'm struggling like I have over the past year, and it sincerely helps me stay alive. So thank you guys so much for being supporters. That goes for everybody who was down in the description, as well as AcidSystem, BallarmsTheRat, Blake Rattler, Mendoza, Brenna, BrimstonePandemonium, Caltuna, Chainsmoker Dealer, ChicagoHitman, CoryxKenshin, CronutHit508, CrusaderChocobo, CursepoxPrimarch, Dakota Best, Poulsen, Dante Kinkade, Kraus, Ellie Hutmire, Enchanted Buns, Estebean, Gemma Halsey, Hades Nephew, Kimbo Jerry, Hour Minutes Seconds Time, Jay Keems, Jettis Pet, Jordan Humble, King Crab, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Old Penguin, Peaceful Buddha, Psychomel, Red Shadowcat, Remember the Sun, Rinku Star, Salty Surprise, Samara Line, Seclude, Simba's Bloody Mojo, Sky Harbor, Smiley the Psychotic, Sullyman, Tali Sue, the Chavez Brothers. Thank you so much. And honestly, thank you to everybody, even those guys that are in there for just $1. It really helps me out. Once again, that's patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. Or if you guys like to just listen, honestly, that helps me out a lot too. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And sweet dreams.